we got a good matchup. I'm looking forward to when they both were on the field hearing a cross. You know,
yeah.
We've got the battle of the Catholics here. McDevitt versus Lancaster Catholic. You know, I was saying to you before we did this taping, Keith, that, first of all, I'm Eric Stark, Keith Schwaggart. He does this blog called In the Huddle. You got to check it out, guys. He'll be in the huddle. You can be in the huddle with him this weekend, so catch it. But I was saying to you, a lot of times McDevitt the last 2 years has been in the finals of districts. You had mentioned it was Cocalico and LS.
Yeah.
I don't think those teams were as used to the big stage as who McDevitt gets this year. Lancaster Catholic's been there because of districts, because of states. These guys should come in not intimidated by Bishop McDevitt at all. I think it's going to lead to a better matchup. What are your thoughts with that?
I think you're absolutely right. And, you know, you look at some of the teams that Lancaster Catholic played, well, the last couple of years through the state playoffs, Philadelphia West Catholic. It's just a team with speed and athletes all over the field. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, they were a AA school, but I'm not saying they're as good as McDevitt or any other AAA team for that matter, but I think they would certainly hold their own in the District 3 playoffs as a AA team, even if they played up at AAA. So, you know, Lancaster Catholic has had to play teams like that. They've been in bigger games, you know, in the state playoffs. So the upperclassmen that they have, you know, the Roman Clay and you know, Shea Mento on the line and all these guys that are seniors this year, they've been through the wars. You know, they've at least played in last year's state playoff run, presumably. They were probably at least on the team 2 years or in 2009 when the team went there. So they know what it takes to get there. And yeah, I don't think they're going to be intimidated by Bishop McDevitt, even if they do respect how great a team that is. Yeah, I don't think they're going to fold up. And not that Cocalico or Lampeter Strasburg did that 2 years ago, you know, over the last 2 years. In fact, it's, you know, I think they probably got the LL League a little bit more respect just based on how well they played against McDevitt in those last two. Certainly, McDevitt came in as an overwhelming favorite and had their hands full for, you know, both of those games they were very good competitive football games. And I think that's what we're in store for on Friday night. I'm not saying Lancaster Catholic's going to win the game. I think they are going to make it very, very competitive. And yes, I think they do have a pretty good shot at coming out with an upset here.
Well, and I wasn't trying to say Cocalico and LS, but I think they were more of an underdog than what Lancaster Catholic's going to be, although I think McDevitt may be favored in this matchup. What is it going to take for the Crusaders to walk away with a win?
Well, they're going to need a big game from their running back, Roman Clay, who is he's the league's all-time leading rusher. He's over 2,400 yards on the ground just this year. As he goes, so goes Lancaster Catholic. And everybody that plays them this year knows that. He's been seeing, you know, 8-man fronts pretty much for most, if not all, of the season. Right. And he still finds a way to get his yards more often than not. Now, last week against Cocalico, he got held to 97, 98 yards, but he did get a touchdown, and he was looking at, you know, 7 or 8-man fronts most of the time. Cocalico, if you can call giving a guy giving up 97 yards and a touchdown containing somebody, they contained Roman Clay. Still lost the game.
Yeah.
That's what McDevitt's going to do, though. I think they're going to try to stack up the box and stop Clay and force Lancaster Catholic to beat them through the air. Catholic has a converted receiver at quarterback, Evan Purvis, he's certainly gotten a whole lot better from now as to where he was at the beginning of the year when he was first, you know, learning the nuances of it and everything. It's still something that I think teams are going to try to exploit and try to make him be the guy that beats you instead of Roman Clay. So how well he holds up against that game plan will probably determine a lot of how the game's going to go for Lancaster Catholic.
So the ball's in Purvis's hand. That's key. Defensively, I think the Catholic Cocalico was still a great matchup. And you were saying to me, defensively, is where Catholic came up with some big plays. I think that the defense for the Crusaders gets sort of underrated this year. It
does, and it's not that they put up horrible numbers or anything like that. I think teams have just had a little more success moving the ball against Lancaster Catholic than we're used to seeing over the last couple of years. And I think part of that has to do with being in Section 1 and playing, you know, a higher level of competition, due respect to Section 3, which is, you know, they jumped up from there this year. So yeah, I think Lancaster Catholic's defense probably is underrated a little bit. They come up with big plays when they have to. The great example was last week. Cocalico's driving for what could have been a tying touchdown. Sean Titus, veteran defensive back and receiver, steps in front of a pass at the 2 and takes it 98 yards the other way for a touchdown. That was really the backbreaker. I mean, that was the play of the game right there. McDevitt's a very, very good team, and this is probably one of the tougher matchups that Catholic's defense is going to have this year. McDevitt has a 4-year starter quarterback, a 4-year starter receiver. That's Alec Werner and Brian Lamel. Lamel's the state's career passing reception yardage leader, well over 4,000 yards. He just set that record last week. He and Werner are both getting looked at by Penn State, among many others. And it's going to be tough for Catholic secondary to really kind of put the brakes on those two. Werner has something like 2,600 passing yards this year. Half of those have been to Lamel. So he's really the guy that the secondary is going to need to look to stop. But you can't sleep on the running game either, because they have Andre Robinson and Rashad Lawson. They have 1,700 yards and 26 touchdowns combined. So, yeah, McDevitt's offense is tough. They average 436 yards and 40 points a game. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough matchup. I think for Catholic, what you got to do is hope you can get Clay going and maybe keep pounding him through the line there and keep that McDevitt offense over there on the sidelines where it's not going to hurt anybody. And hopefully Clay gets his yards and they come out with the W that way.
Ball control is what you're saying there.
Yeah.
This is going to be a holy war, and ball control is what it comes down to.
It could be. If you're Lancaster Catholic, that's what you're hoping for.